Once upon a time, there was the spear, a support weapon that players have grown to fear. For when it was young, its target lock wouldn't work, robbing the spear of its one defining perk. But when Arrowhead brought it back from the dead, the spear then started crashing players instead. With its life up until now being a bug-filled playspace, it's no wonder why the Commando then took its place. Now, without a job or a home, the spear was left forgotten, with the Recoilless taking its throne. Oh, the spear, a stratagem whose life has been a roller coaster of extreme ups and downs, constantly suffering from the game's many bugs, or Arrowhead's dodgy balancing schemes. The old girl just can't seem to catch a break. But do you really know the spear? Because, sure, the spear has had a very rocky history in Helldivers 2, and that's putting it lightly, but it's not a bad stratagem. Far from it, in fact. With it having an armor penetration score of 7 and dealing a straight 4,000 damage, the spear is no lightweight. In fact, it outdamages every other anti-tank weapon currently present in Helldivers 2, dealing twice as much damage as the Thermite pocket nuke. And with its target locking mechanism to boot, it makes the spear a very easy support weapon to use. However, why then is it not used more often? The spear is not a popular choice in anti-tank weaponry, with it being beaten out by the likes of the Commando and the Recoilless Rifle. But why is that the case? Well, I believe it's due to the spear's lack of versatility as a support weapon. To explain my point, let's take a look at a very common support weapon you might see players take during missions. The king of the bot front, the Autocannon. The Autocannon is the gold standard for how a support weapon should be designed, because it's got a great balance between power and flexibility. If you need to take out an Impaler, it can do it. If you need to put down a Factory Strider, it can do it. And if you need to sort out a messy divorce, it can do it. The Autocannon is a generalist weapon, which makes it very good in many situations, whereas for the spear, not so much. Because the spear is a specialist, it's really good at killing the big things, and nothing else. It will not save your marriage. And I believe this lack of versatility is caused by its two major limitations: its low ammo and its target lock mechanism. Firstly, the spear doesn't have a great ammo economy. With only 4 rockets total, you need to choose your targets wisely, otherwise you're going to find yourself staring down a BT without any rockets. And let me tell you from experience, it doesn't tend to end too well. So, scavenging ammo wherever you can find it will be a great help to you. Secondly, the spear's main gimmick, the target lock, restricts what it can shoot at. If what you're trying to shoot at is something that is not on the list of targets the spear can lock onto, you won't be able to fire it, period. So having a general understanding of what it can and can't shoot at is a good idea. And it's with these limitations that players must work around in order to use the spear effectively, picking the appropriate weapons and stratagems to make up the difference. Or you could, you know, just use the better spear. Ever since Arrowhead embarked on their 60-day plan, the Recoilless Rifle has become arguably the most powerful anti-tank support weapon in the game, with it now being able to kill everything with one well-placed rocket. And with the Recoilless Rifle not being restricted by any dodgy target locking mechanisms and having 2 ammo types, on paper it makes the spear look like the inferior anti-tank support weapon. But is that really the case? Well, yes and no. And here's why. When choosing the spear or the Recoilless Rifle, you are essentially announcing to the rest of your squad that you're going to be their support. Because both weapons are at their strongest when supporting a team, and that means taking out the bigger enemies while your team deals with the chaff. The Recoilless Rifle's manual aiming and HE rockets does give it more flexibility in how it can be used, but the spear's target lock makes it infinitely easier to use. Sure, the Recoilless Rifle may have more rockets, but unless you are standing too close to your target or something gets in the way, the spear will never miss, even from across the map. Its target lock mechanism also allows for the spear to blind fire into smoke, making it pretty good at locating and taking out spore charges. In the end, the Recoilless Rifle does provide more coverage in how it can be used, but that doesn't make the spear an inferior choice. It does its job. However, in the future, perhaps Arrowhead could change the spear so that it has different ammo types, maybe more power, to put it in a very simple term, because at the moment the spear needs a little bit of help fulfilling its role as an anti-tank support weapon, because the recoilless rifle is starting to encroach on the spear's territory. But speaking of fulfilling a role, let's finally now talk about how the spear is used on both fronts of the Second Galactic War, starting with the Terminids are a nasty bunch, a melee horde army whose main trick is to run down and overwhelm players with just sheer numbers. So, keeping your distance and staying aware of your surroundings is key to using the spear against the bugs, because the spear's rockets, when it fires them, will always travel a few meters in a straight line before homing towards its intended target. So, playing behind your team is almost essential for the spear user, allowing the Terminid swarm to break upon them as you pick off the heavier units from a safe distance. And yes, the spear can target Brood and Alpha commanders, but don't waste your rockets on them. Save your 4 rockets for the big boys: Chargers, Impalers, Biotitans, and Structures. BTs and Impalers are similar to each other. 1 rocket to the head will kill it instantly, but 2 to the body will get the job done. And here's a quick tip: shoot your primary or secondary at either of the buggers to get them to face you, then fire the spear. But for Chargers, 1 rocket is more than enough. No matter the variant, it will always die to 1 rocket. And Shrieker Nests and Spore Spewers are easy pickings for the spear. Just get an angle from wherever on the map and say goodbye to those pesky structures. However, if you are caught out by a lone Charger, Impaler, or BT, I'd suggest using stratagems or a grenade to either slow it down or to kill it. Especially against Chargers, because they love nothing more than to close the gap between you and it. I've found that the Orbital Precision Strike, a Rail Cannon Strike, or an Eagle Air Strike coupled with a stun grenade are pretty good solutions to the problem. Bringing a turret is also an excellent choice. I'd recommend the Autocannon or Rocket Sentries for some extra anti-tank support, or the Gatling Sentry if you need more breathing room. The spear can also close bug holes, but I'd only recommend doing that if there is no other options present to you. The Automaton legions are vast and deadly, lighting up any engagement with a storm of bullets. Fortunately for the spear, the bots are big and slow, making it far easier to pick them off from a safe distance. However, the Automatons make up for this perceived weakness with the number of heavy units they throw at you. Scout Striders, Hulks, tanks, gunships, factory striders, and all their variants are almost a dime a dozen during any engagement with the bots. Yes, even the factory striders at higher difficulties. I once had 3 of the bastards, count 3 of those dogs, dropped on my ass when I was all alone, on the other side of the map doing a radar station. I somehow won that fight, but that's besides the point. When you take the spear against the automatons, you must play strategically, identify the largest threat to the team, and take it out. Scout and reinforced striders are too numerous for the spear's rockets, and therefore should not be targeted. When it comes to hulks and gunships, you need to look towards your team. If it appears that they have it covered, save your rockets for a bigger threat. However, do not be afraid to rain hell, especially when assaulting gunships. It will cost you most, if not all, of your ammo, but a spear user can easily solo one of those damn factories. However, it's the tanks and the factory striders that are going to give you the most trouble, because they're big and they hit hard. For tanks, you can either aim for their turrets or for their chassis. It doesn't matter which one you choose, they die all the same. Factory striders, on the other hand, are far more straightforward. Take out their cannon turret and let your stratagems do the rest. Airstrikes, OPSs, 500 kgs, orbital lasers, it doesn't matter. Just pack something that goes boom. You can also take out fabricators from a fair distance. The targeting is a bit picky with the terrain, but with a good enough angle, they're not a problem to destroy. However, AA emplacements, mortars, and the small fortress turrets are not targets the spear can lock onto, making them quite the pain in the ass to take care of. Taking the spear, I find, often leads to a conflicting experience. On the one hand, the spear makes you feel like a god. Downing BTs and silencing shrieking nests from across the map has never felt so good. But on the other hand, the spear makes you feel like you've brought a stick to a gunfight, forcing you to run away from everything while questioning your life choices. It's a very conflicting experience. As I said before, I believe the spear needs a few changes here and there. Mainly, more targets to lock onto, a less picky target lock mechanism, and once more, to use a very broad term, more power. Because I believe the spear should be the anti-tank specialist. If you want flexibility, you choose the Recoilless Rifle. But if you want to ruin the day of everything that weighs over 2 tons, you pick the spear. But overall, the spear is a very strong anti-tank weapon, which when wielded by capable hands leaves only ruin and devastation for the enemies of managed democracy. Play strategically, watch over your team, and bring down those tanks. And by doing that, you will know the spear. A huge thank you goes out to Helldivers.io, the DiversDex, and the folks at the Helldivers Archive Discord server. Without them, this video would not be possible. And another huge thank you goes out to Crow's Eye Win for their hilarious art contributions. A link to her Instagram can be found in the description below. And while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe buttons, because, well, they help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and take care.